William Doyle is of East India Youth, an act that I have not given a fair chance. I must say I've not listened to much from East India Youth. Having heard this William Doyle album here, I definitely think I should give more of his work a chance. This keeps happening. Right at the end of the year, I keep finding great stuff. This is annoying. I'm running out of space on my top 50 albums of the year. Your Wilderness is Revisited is a very sonically rich and dense album. This is very much indebted to the Baroque pop, chamber pop world. I feel like even before I get into the review, I just want to kind of bring up the fact that if you're an Arcade Fire fan, I reckon you might get something out of this. Not a complete direct comparison, but I think this act is something that you may find similarities with in terms of the sound. Maybe a bit of Vampire Weekend too. But I feel like William Doyle is bringing something a little bit different to the table with his very boyish sensibilities in his vocals. That charm and that wisdom coming through is just undeniable. It's very much an environmental album, I think, in terms of its sound, the richness, the very natural feel to it, and also in the lyrics, where William here is very much expressing his love and almost concern as well for the suburbs and his, former place that he, grew up in, his hometown. Obviously, with him being British, I think this could be concerns with, the kind of like neglect in a lot of British towns and British cities for the environment. I know in some areas we're actually very good in terms of like the climate change stuff, but also in other areas I do feel like, the British people are very much just apathetic towards it. I feel like without fully knowing exactly what William is always talking about on this album, I do feel like I know what he's talking about in a weird way. I do think sometimes he's quite vague with his lyrics, which I think holds some of the tracks back in the terms of like what exactly he's specifically referencing. But at the same time, when you kind of hone in on some of the things that he does say, you sort of get that sense of like urgency, this love, this wanting things to change. With tracks like Design Guide, I think you just get this sense of fulfillment, like things are just ready to change, and he is ready and at the forefront of this change, and you just want to join him. And the dynamic sounds of this album too, like on the track Full Catastrophe, Living, which I'm just in awe of, like the way these tracks transcend, the way these tracks build upon each other. Some of the tracks just expand in ways that I just absolutely adore. The friggin' guitar on Design Guide, or the refrain on Continuum, like these are just amazing moments. The whole we gotta move out, we gotta move out, we gotta move out, we gotta move out. It's just this intense race to like the top of a mountain, you just feel him like climbing as he's saying the words. It's just so... Ooh. I just love as well how his voice never really gets sacrificed either. Like you just feel the expressive emotions coming out of him at every point on the album. Like on tracks like Blue Remembered, where I just don't feel like he loses control over his vocal abilities. He knows exactly his strengths and he plays to them all the time here. You get more diverse instruments on Nobody Else Will Tell You, which is probably my favourite track here. It's got this infectious as hell saxophone on it. I think it is easily like the most pop friendly track here. It's the one track on the album I think I would definitely tell you to check out if you were interested in hearing what exactly this album entails. The opening track as well has this really impressive avant-garde jazz section right at the end. It still comes out of nowhere, but I actually really dig the frenetic energy that just builds from nothing on this track. You do get a spoken word piece from Brian Eno on the album as well. Probably could have had a bit more of an oomph to it. I feel like there isn't really that much of a charge coming from what exactly he's saying, but there is one later on in the album which I think has a bit more of a direct point to it, and this is the one where you've got this guy talking about the environment and the loss of trees and stuff like that. I did mention Arcade Fire at the beginning of the review, and honestly this album is doing similar things to what the Suburbs did, I think. Although, honestly, I think musically it's just more engaging and entertaining than what the suburbs was. This loss of identity, you know, the idea of you not really sure where you came from, where you're going next. I feel like both albums are kind of, I guess, two sides of the same coin, if you will. The very Robin Pecknold vocals close out the album too. Yeah, I love this track, man. I love the usage of Baroque pop throughout this album. Like, I think William Doyle completely twists this genre and makes it his own, really. There are some very theatrical and almost progressive rock moments on this album. I think this album honestly offers so much. And I'm just incredibly impressed with of the scope of it all, really. So yeah, I'm gonna go an 8 out of 10. I do think this is a great album and one you should be checking out. Hopefully you like it as much as I do. Hopefully you have some things to say on it. If you do, let me know what you think of it. Have a good day. Let me know in the comments. Tell me what I should review next. Yeah, we're closing down on this season. It's getting very close. Exciting shit. Do have a good day. Goodbye. Listen to this album, please.